CA Pinky Kedia ma'am, chairperson of WIRC, CA Namita Agarwal, faculty for today, and also Prerna Sridhankar. Um, First of all, I would like to introduce Namita Agarwal. Namita is a qualified chartered accountant in first attempt and a company secretary, All India ranker from 2008 batch. Namita has completed her graduation in commerce from NM College and holds her law degree too. From being a tax professional to now being a HR professional for almost a decade, her journey has been quite unique. Namita started her career by working in the in Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, one of the largest law firms in India, as well as Praveen P. Shah and Company, a boutique CA firm in Mumbai. With a deep passion to help her fellow community in finding the right jobs and with articleship opportunities, she started her unconventional journey into HR and recruitment space as the founder and CEO at careersanta.com, which was an exclusive portal for legal and finance professionals in India and was operational for more than 5 years. The platform advertised 2,000 plus job openings and facilitated 50,000 plus interviews for thousands of candidates. Thereafter, Namita joined Monster.com, a global talent platform where she was heading the BFSI sales and strategy vertical. Currently, Namita is serving as vice president at Vahura, one of the top executive search firms in India, where she handles business development as well as recruitment of mid to senior level tax and finance professionals across corporate houses, funds, law firms, tax, and accounting firms. She's also spearheading the newly launched career platform of Vahura, ligafinancejobs.com. Am I right? I think exclusively for legal and finance professionals. Vahura has successfully placed more than 10,000 professionals across various organizations in the last 12 plus years. With this, I warmly welcome Ms. Namita Agarwal, and I would like to take I would like her to take this forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Welcome,
so
Thank
much.
ma'am.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Hina. Thank you,
Yes,
Hina. And I want to thanks Namita also to accept our invitation to guide us on this recent topics. It's a very what you can critical topic. Nowadays, we are exploring the critical aspect of building and maintaining a strong workshop for our organization. So the process of recruitment and employee development is a dynamic and ever involving field. And nowadays, in today's rapidly changing business landscape, it has never been more important to attract, train, and retain top talent. So this webinar has been designed to provide you all with insight, strategy, and best practice that will help us navigate our this challenge of landscape successful. And we have with us CA Namita Agarwal, who will share her knowledge and experience, providing valuable insights and actionable tips. And our discussion will revolve around the key pillar of successful human resource management, because nowadays there are so many turnover, you can say manpower turnover is happening, and when they are leaving the firm or organization, they are going in a group. Full team is shifting from one organization to another organization. So it's now a challenge to retain good talent with you. So I hope, and I assure full 90%, 99% that Namita will do justice to this topic, and she will guide us how to retain good talent and top talent in your organization, which will be very fruitful for us. So Namita, thank you again to share this with us. And with this, I want to welcome her and request her to start the session. Thank you, Namita.
Thank you, Hina. Thank you, Pinky ma'am. So without uh, wasting more time, I'll start the presentation. My screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Before I start, would like to wish everyone a happy Dashera. Thanks for joining in. I'm sure a lot of you everybody would be on a holiday mood today, but nevertheless, let's use that time when we are not working to do some knowledge enhancement. So as the topic is recruitments, we'll be delving into how to hire, train, nourish, and retain staff. A lot of these things will be uh, things which will seem very normal, very uh, commonsensical, but it is often missed by us when we step into the shoes of an employer. So I would like to know um, if y'all, most of you might have given interviews. If y'all can put it in the chat box, if you have been on the candidate side in the past, because I do not know uh, the audience has what kind of experience levels. So I'm assuming that most of us have been on the side of a candidate, and now you have to step into the shoes of an employer and see what it takes to be an employer and hire the right resources. So would can we have an interactive session, and if participants could put on the chat box if you all have been a candidate and you all have given interviews in the past, and just type a yes in the chat box. I'll move on. So we'll cover the topic why within hiring it is divided into. Okay, I think I'm not on the slideshow mode. Right. So for hiring the right talent, the key aspects we need to understand. First is importance of hiring. Second will be the steps in hiring. 4 steps in hiring. There are multiple steps. I've divided it into 4 steps. First step is attracting the right talent, both active and passive talent. Second step is screening the resumes and conducting interviews. Third is salary negotiations and offer rollout. And fourth being joining and onboarding. Then we'll move on to training and retaining. As you all are aware that people are the most valuable and dynamic assets in an organization, and the importance is even more in a service industry. So unlike a manufacturing industry where technology, machines play a very crucial role, in a service industry like ours where we are, if you are part of a practicing CA firm and you are helping them with the recruitment process, then the importance of people is all the more greater, because it's all about the right people in the organization. People, the new term which is often used for people is human capital, which further recognizes that people are very important and essential assets who contribute to the development and growth of the organization, just like the physical assets and physical assets like machine and money. The collective attitude, skills, and abilities of people contribute to organizational performance, productivity of an organization. What is also important to bear in mind that the cost of wrong hiring is not just the salary cost, right? So if a person it's not just about hiring, it's also very important to hire the right talent. So that is the reason organizations also take support from search firm like ours. So Vahura is a search firm where we help in finding the right talent. This is important whether you do it internally or you take the help of external agencies or vendors. It is important to note that the cost of a wrong hiring is pretty high. It's not just the salary which is paid for a particular period, but it is a lot of training cost which is involved. There is a per hour rate which your seniors are spending on training the resource. There is the infrastructure cost. There are a lot of indirect costs which go in every new hire. So it's very important that the person who is joining is there for a mid to long term. Of course, every organization wants people to stick in the organization for a long term, and that is again a subjective thing. What constitutes mid-term, what constitutes long term, because a company may say 3 years, but candidates may feel 1 year is enough or 2 years are enough. So that is a subjective discussion. But having said that, it's very important that the right kind of talent is hired for an organization who is not just technically sound, but also culturally fitting. By cultural fitment means every organization will have its own nuances, will have its own expectation and style of working. So it's very important that when the candidate is selected, those things are taken care. Otherwise, if the candidate underperforms, does not perform well, or he does not get adjusted to the environment, irrespective of his tenure in the organization, whether it's short or long term, that can have a very bad impact on the organization, both in monetary as well as non-monetary terms. So first, while I said about step 1 to step 4, before that, there is a stage which I call a step 0, which is planning stage. So if you are helping an organization understand how they should be doing the hiring, you need to first do the planning. For that, you need to understand the hiring ratios. So by hiring ratios, like as chartered accountants, we all understand, the financial ratios, debt equity ratio, cash flow ratio and all of those. Now you need to understand what are the hiring ratios. So I've just put it in a pyramid as to how you can determine. A lot of times firms, especially small to mid-sized firms, don't even keep a track of all this, but it's important that you try to understand these statistics from the organization to plan your hiring process. In terms of the ratio, so first at the bottom of the pyramid, it is the application pool, the pool of candidates, just the arbitrary figure, say it is 50, because this pool of applications could be from various sources, and it could be various kind of candidates, be it hiring for CAs, semi-CAs, BCom graduates, or any other professionals. So assume that your pool of candidates is about, say, 50. The people who will be shortlisted for interview, more likely than not, based on our experience, I'm saying, so out of, you get a lot of junk people who are not at all relevant, people who may be having the different kind of experience. Say you're hiring for a 4-5 years experience person, but you get applications from freshers. So from 50 to 20 will be like the directly irrelevant applications, which might be removed by you. So that itself will remove your 30 kind of applications. From shortlisted for interview to first round of interviews, again you will observe these numbers are just ballpark figures, but you will see that organization to organization this could be very different. First round of interview, there are only 9 candidates. This is because by the time you get in touch with the candidate has joined somewhere else. Candidates may back out after they have even applied, or they may not show interest. They may not turn up for the interview. That's a very common problem which is faced. So in the first round of interview, you may end up having, say, 9 candidates out of 20. So almost 50% drop ratio is very common to see from the stage you line up the interview, start lining up to the actual interview turnouts. From 9 candidates, on optimistic side, I'm saying, say 5 people clear the first round, second round, whichever number of rounds you have. Say you may have 2 rounds or 3 rounds, which is typically the case. So say 5 candidates reach the final round, and out of that 3 are selected. So here the ratio so from here, this is very important for you to evaluate. The bottom of the pyramid, it may change from case to case, but you need to understand from first round of interview onwards, out of how many candidates who appear for first round, how many candidates reach the final round of interview, whether it's 50%, 40%, out of how many final round of candidates, how many get selected. So here you need to understand that your ratio ideally should not be more than 1:3 to 1:5 is the ideal ratio. It should not be more than that. So if somebody has a ratio, if an organization has a ratio of 1:10, so from at the final round of interview, out of every 10 candidates, only 1 is selected, then there is a problem in the interview process, or there is some mismatch in the expectation. Because if out of 10 candidates who have reached the final round, if only 1 is getting selected, then that is a issue. Ideally, the industry standard, as I said, is 1:3 to 1:5. It also depends whether the previous rounds of interview have been done by HR, by external consultants, by by managers of the organization. It all depends on those factors also. But ideally, yeah, 1:3 to 1:5 is uh, something which is ideal. From there, you will see that out of every candidate you offer, so if there are three candidates who are selected, and if all the three are offered, there is a likelihood that only one will uh, accept the offer. Again, this can be for smaller organizations, for firms which do not have that pull factor. You will see that out of 5 candidates or 10 candidates also, just 1 or 2 people accept. So you need to understand that your organization has a 20% offer acceptance ratio, 30% or 50%. Accordingly, you need to have your bottom of the pyramid sorted. And then from offer accepted to joined, again, there can be drops. So you need to bear in mind that if people are accepting the offer, how serious you are able to sense them they are in terms of joining, because that can be a last minute shock if people serve their notice period and after accepting offer, only like that one can become zero and then you don't have any candidate who is joining. So you need to make sure that you have a backup ready. If there is only one position, it becomes tricky because you cannot offer to more than one candidate and keep. But you need to bear in mind certain steps which we'll discuss in slides, which will help you reduce the dropout after the offer acceptance. Coming to the step 1 of attracting talent. Now, attracting talent, we'll go one by one on what are the things which are needed to attract talent. Firstly, as a person who is handling the HR processes for any organization, you need to understand the profile of the organization in detail and the EVP. What is EVP? Is the employee value proposition from business owners and leaders. It's important for you to sit down with them and understand what that firm or organization does. I will say from a perspective of practicing CAs, because I understand that is the focus area. So you need to understand about the firm in and out. You need to know how old is the firm, who are the partners, what is their pedigree, what has been their achievements, what are the key clients of the firm, some of the names of the key clients, the industries in which they operate, which are their practice areas, which are the which are the most, the strongest practice areas of that firm. What is it that the firm has, which is, unique as compared to others? It is not very easy to come to a unique thing, but it is at least, if not USP, because a lot of firms may be very similar, but at least EVP, what is it for the employee in the organization, is something you need to sit with the business owners and leaders and understand. Based on our experience, we have often seen that a lot of HR professionals or mid-level people who are handling hiring are clueless about these things. Like, they would go back to the business leaders and ask them about basic details. If you ask them any top client of the firm, they are clueless. But these things are very important, because you as an audience have been on the employee side, and you know that uh, an employee will not join or show interest unless he has clarity about what the organization does. So it's important to have all these details, and in a confidential manner also, all of this can be put out to the candidates. In case you do not, if for some reason you cannot name the organization, you can always say that you are working for one of the top banking organization, you are working for or a listed retail company, at least with X thousand crore turnover. At least the credentials of the clientele, especially in this practicing CA domain, can be definitely uh, put across the candidates. Next would be that you need to formulate a employer branding strategy for short to mid to long term, because it's very important for you to understand that in today's Gen Z scenario, uh, employer branding is very, very important. It's more than a lot of other, there are various factors which determine the pull for an organization, but employer branding is very important. So some of the points which I said are important. Then how the company is, how the firm rather is using the social media, how they are using their website, how they are, welcoming the candidates when they come for the interview, their office setup. All of these things are very important from an employer branding standpoint. So it's a topic in itself, but you need to formulate the strategy, and lot of it will not give you immediate results, but it is also that just like a normal branding is done by organizations, which has impact over a long term, you need to counsel the organizations that this is also going to fetch you results in mid to long term and not necessarily fetch you immediate results without violating the whatever the CA regulations say. There is no the regulations of CA anyways talk about not marketing their services from a client standpoint, but branding from an employer standpoint uh, within the CA guidelines is very much possible. You need to understand what's the firm's outlook on diversity and inclusion. I've added this point specifically because today diversity and inclusion is very, very important. Most of you might be understanding what's diversity and inclusion. It would mean hiring people from different areas. It just does not mean gender diversity. So gender diversity is definitely there. So what is the firm thinking about hiring of women women in general, women who have been on break, any flexibility, what are the policies of the firm to have such kind of if the firm does not have a very good diversity currently at the various levels. So it's a lot of time that at junior level there is diversity, but at mid and senior level there gender diversity is not there, religion wise, sex orientation. So you need to while this DNI is more a concept among MNCs and top and bigger corporate players, but it's something which can be a USP for practicing CA if they also focus on diversity and inclusion on various parameters. Next is you need to define the job roles and requirements clearly along with the compensation budget and then convert it into a comprehensive JD. Again, there is a huge gap here. You would have seen yourself, and from my experience, I can say you after working with so many accounting firms, helping them in hiring, that a lot of them do not have a JD. Like JD is something they say that it is standard, which is not wrong, but at the same time there have to be some efforts which have to be put. It's a one-time exercise. You need to have a JD prepared for each of the roles which are there, clearly define the expectations of the candidate, the compensation range, have a grid as to based on experience what is the salary range which can be offered. All of these things is something which has to be streamlined, which is currently very unstructured in lot of firms, in fact most of the firms, and JD is definitely a missing element, and you as candidate know that without JD it becomes difficult for you to express interest in any organization. Next would be, once you have done these things where you have understood the company and the role properly, you need to identify the sourcing avenues. So for sourcing the candidates, again, there are multiple ways in which it can be done. It can be through a company website. So in case you have a good pull factor, the brand of the firm is known and people generally search for it themselves, then company website would be one of the sources where the details of your email ID or there is any form to be filled to apply for the job opening. So a lot of times, again, company websites are not updated. Company websites are not made also properly. So that is an important aspect which you need to bear in mind for both branding standpoint in general and also to attract talent. Social media can be used for sourcing candidates, your HR consultants, search firms. So they definitely, in the grid which I had showed you in the previous slide, the search firms help you in at least the first 3-4 steps will be done by professionals who have been doing it day in day out. They would charge a fee for that, but that reduces the burden of the firm in spending time on those aspects. And if there is no full-fledged HR, most of the time the partners who are the decision makers in the interview process do not have the time and the bandwidth to do the process. So it's it's a good idea depending on the criticality of the role, depending on the volume of hiring, depending on the budget, because apart from the salary, of course, there will be a fees which will be payable to these firms that can be discussed, and then you can decide whether you can use their services. Next is these external job portals. So here again, there are multiple job boards, job portals. LinkedIn, I'll put it under social media, but apart from that, there are portals like it was said in the introduction. We have also launched a platform called as legafinjobs.com, which is an exclusive platform for legal and finance professionals. If there is time, then I will show you how the employer dashboard looks like, because you all might have seen it from the standpoint of a candidate. When the company uses these portals, so most of the bigger organizations use job portals, and even accounting firms use job portals to find the right kind of candidate. So how does the dashboard of an employer look, can be shown at the end of the presentation if time permits. Other would be employee and other referrals from the clients. There are different referrals which you keep getting internally, and you can also keep that as an avenue for sourcing. In a nutshell, it is not that only, it will never be that only one approach is going to work. You will always have to have a combination of different ways for your hiring. More the merrier, like you should use all different sources depending on the various factors which I mentioned, and explore different combinations so that your hiring happens in a timely manner. The next step after attracting the talent, what next? Then you have to shortlist them and take them to the interview stage. So here again, it's very, very important to reach out to the candidates in a formal and systematic manner. It's often seen that CA firms would only, would not reach out in a very structured manner. So it's important to have proper emails sent to the candidates, because it looks very professional, and it will be a first impression of the company. Put out that profile of the organization to the extent you can disclose to them, to the candidates, so that they feel that they know about the firm and they are applying with after putting the thought process. Otherwise, you will see a very high dropouts at different stages of the process. So it's important that email is sent to the candidates. A formal communication is missing by a lot of employers, which can be streamlined if you as a person is helping them. Here while you are using the different sources, you need to be creative in your approach, as you um, are aware that there are people of different generations you are dealing with. Maybe your employers may be in the millennials or generation X, whereas the people you are hiring are the Gen Z. So if there is going to be a difference in the way they think, and that's how you need to uh, you know target them. Like, understand your TGs, your target group here is employees. So it's important for you to step into their shoes, understand what they would get attracted to, and accordingly decide. If on the chat box I could, if people could put y'all are from which generation. I'm sure most of you would be Gen Z or millennials. So would be happy to know what is your generation, if you can put it in the chat box. Is the chat box is open to all, right? Yeah. Seems like. Or is it for only panelists? Or you can put it in the Q&A just to understand at. I can see some are millennials and some are from Gen Z. Right. So this is just to give you a sense that different generations have their are having different kind of expectations. So accordingly, you should plan your hiring process. Moving to the next slide. Now, while designing your firm, like why would a candidate get attracted? So while designing your hiring plan, you need to bear in mind all of these monetary slash tangible benefits which the firm is offering, as well as the non-monetary benefits. We all are aware of this somewhere at the back of our minds, but still it often gets missed out. So I'll just list down some of the points so that is exhaustively covered. Monetary benefits which are important for any candidate or talent, so that they get attracted to your firm, would be the total pay, which we also called as CTC, or the cost to the company, fixed pay, variable pay, also called as bonus, retention pay. Where retention pay, it means a lot of firms have this policy where they have a fixed amount. So it's actually kind of a fixed pay, but they have a fixed amount which is paid after 6 months, after 12 months, after 2 years, after 3 years. So, depending, after every uh, periodic intervals, they pay a certain amount which is fixed. It is not based on performance. So that also is a retention strategy, and it also incentivizes the candidate to stay for that much long. That is additional motivation. And it, at the same time, it is also a deferment for the firm, so that they don't have to invest upfront in a larger amount. They can have a retention amount, so that they know that the person has been in the system for a particular period. So this is a definitely a very good strategy which a lot of organizations are adopting, and you can advise the firms which you are helping out. Yearly growth is also something which a lot of firms are very silent about, but it is important. The clarity is very, very important. So if you can get that clarity from the leader, that what is the average yearly growth, what is the minimum growth, maximum growth, it gives a clarity for the candidate from a long term standpoint. And also this helps in reducing your attrition. If you know that the firm can pay in the second year, there are firms which will give a 20% hike, 30% hike. Maybe in the first year the salary is not up to the mark, but the second year salary can uh, be as per the expectation of the candidate or the industry standards. So it's important to give that visibility to the candidate. Otherwise, even though your firm may be able to offer a certain amount, because the candidate does not know, he may start looking out for opportunities outside, and then it may be too late for you to do anything about it. So yearly growth, broad percentage, say like a 5% to 30%, is been our past average, is something you should not shy away as an employer to tell the candidates. What are the reimbursement policies when it comes to meetings? So typically the reimbursements are there for meetings, but if in case some organization also reimburse conveyance from home to office, reimbursement for food, for any other reimbursements which are there for business meetings, all of that should be clarified, because all that also adds up to the eh, what do you say, the takeaway for the candidate. What are the incentives for exceptional work or firm building? Here again, the employers need to be innovative. If the candidate is doing some exceptional work, then are they ready to pay him more than average? Are they ready to pay an incentive if somebody has done some business development, got some client, has done some deal closure, if it's a M&A kind of organization? So what kind of ad hoc incentives, which may not be defined, can be given to the candidate to motivate him for something which he has done apart from his regular role, is also very important. If somebody is very active in the branding of the firm, he's writing articles, so it should not be that it is given that he's there writing articles or doing certain things which are helping the firm in visibility, may not give any immediate monetary results to the firm, but it's important for the firms to think of how to incentivize the candidates for certain for such things. Mediclaim policy, again, that's an important thing which can add to the CTC. So ideally the CTC should have all the elements embedded into it as the part, because that's a cost to the company. So whatever CTC as a concept means that all the fixed and variable pay also to some extent. I will explain you in what cases and how it can be part of CTC. So that should be part of CTC, and the firm should not shy away, because there are organizations, other corporates who are adding everything in CTC, whereas say a CA firm does not add it in the CTC. Then optically a person is comparing not apple to apple but apple to a orange. So here you are comparing say a 7 lakh salary to a 9 lakh salary in another corporate, but that 9 lakh includes your variable pay, that includes your mediclaim, that includes your gratuity in a lot of cases. So what happens that the comparison is not fair. So it's okay as long as it's not misleading or anything. You are giving the breakup of the CTC, but from an optic standpoint, it's important that the CTC has all the elements in it. How much of the tax saving uh, elements are there in the um, what the CTC structure is important. Sometimes the structures are not very efficient. Are you willing to give a retainer kind of a model? So in a law firm, it's very common for employees to be given retainer. I was a part of a law firm for 6 years. So there the retainer concept helps you in saving taxes to a great extent. May not be feasible in all cases, but you can see if that kind of any model which helps in saving the taxes for the candidate will also be a direct saving for him. Leave encashment again may or may not be there in a lot of organizations, but it's also always a good policy to have. ESOPs may not be so much relevant in a practicing CA standpoint, but in a general setup, ESOPs if can also be an attractive factor for candidates to join and be retained. Especially for retention, ESOPs are definitely important, or any other perks which a firm can offer will be the monetary benefits which will attract the talent. What's important is not just having them, but also communicating that to the uh, candidates in the rightful manner. So in case of variable, one of the things which most of the organizations we have seen, they say that variable is variable and there is no visibility. It's completely uncertain. Like they would offer you a 7 lakh salary as a say CA fresher, or a 10 lakh salary, and then the variable is as per performance, full stop. There is no visibility. Whereas on the other side, how lot of firms how they put it is like say a 10 lakh plus 2 lakh variable bonus subject to performance. So the moment you have that 2 lakh, you have a figure which you know that you can get if your performance is good. So you can yourself, discount the candidates. So while you are an employer right now, so if you see as a candidate, you would typically think that, okay, my maximum salary would be 10 plus to 12 lakhs. If I do an average performance and for whatever the firm's performance is average, then I will still get 11 lakhs. So he has a clarity of the budget of the firm and the overall amount which they are ready to pay, unlike just saying 10 lakh plus variable. So a lot of firms in such cases say that the CTC is 12 lakhs, because 12 lakhs is the actual amount which they are willing to give as per the performance. So that it's a very, very good strategy, and I have personally suggested to a lot of firms to use that strategy to not inflate your CTC, but just to give clarity. So you may put it as 12 lakhs and say that your fixed takeaway is 10 lakhs. Your 1 lakh could be 2 lakhs is your variable. Another 1 lakh is a fixed amount payable after a year, after 2 years. You have apart from that, you have some 10% BD incentive. So all of these will encourage people to think out of the box and contribute contribute more than what is their standard KRA. Next, I would talk about the non-monetary aspects, which have become very, very important, especially after COVID. Right. So culture of the firm. So a lot of these aspects are also important for retention. We will be discussing them in the retention slide in detail, but I'll just touch upon them right now. So what is the culture of the firm? What is the learning curve? That's very, very important for the candidates to decide which firm to join. What are the leave policies? What's the flexibility? Right. By flexibility, I would say the mode of working, whether work from home is allowed or not, whether it's hybrid. So generally, a lot of CA firms do not have the hybrid policy, but a lot of them do have also, especially the bigger ones. So here it is important to attract talent. And today, a lot of surveys have been done, which definitely show that more than CTC, people are giving weightage to flexibility. So it's important for CA firms to give that benefit. If not for 50% work from home is not possible, at least one day a week, if they can give that flexibility. Because in during COVID also they have seen that work happens, and a person, if he's given flexibility, he will be more committed to being there for a longer time. So these policy, if there are women policy for women on break, if you have to have something for them to return, what are your policies? Do you have any part-time opportunities with you? Again, the work from home model, whether you can open at least for those people who have not been working for a long time. What are the training avenues which are there in the firm? What is the mentorship which is being given from the seniors in the organization? What's the designation? Again, designation is something which are most of the CA firms, apart from the larger firms, don't have it in place. So it's good to have a flat organization to some extent. When most of the people are juniors, with say a 0 to 3 years experience, 0 to 5 years. But then beyond that, it's very important for people to get a proper designation, because their peers in different organizations would be at a certain level. They would be manager, senior manager, director, or if they are in the corporate world, they could have different designations. So a lot of CA firms are shying away in having a proper hierarchy and having a proper designation, but there is no harm in structuring it, and that is very, very important for the growth of the firm. Otherwise, just saying that we are hiring a CA without putting a designation also dissuades a lot of people in even applying for your organization. What are the working days, whether it's Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday? Here again, a lot of CA firms work on all Saturdays, some work on 3, some 2, and some have only 5-day working. So here, as a firm, you need to understand what is your distinguishing factor in case you cannot uh, necessarily give very high pay, possibly on flexibility front, on working day front. If you can have some flexibility, then that can also be a USP for the candidates. What are your working hours in terms of the regular hours? Maybe 8 to 9 hours, but actually on ground, how much late sittings are there? That is important. What's the notice period? Sometimes if the notice period of the firm is like say 3 months, we have, that also becomes a uh, point which candidates do not appreciate in the current scenario. Ideally, we suggest 1 month is a good enough notice period, but if the organizations have 2 months, 3 months, then that also leads to offer drops. Everything else is fine, but if there is a 3 month notice period, they may or may not leave. That's a future thing. But if you have certain restrictive clauses in your offer, that can also dissuade people. What are the leadership opportunities? If the person grows in the organization, does he get to lead a team? Those things also become relevant. Rewards and recognition for their work, R&R, some town hall, R&R, certain functions where people are recognized for their work, not just by giving them uh, incentives and variable, but also by felicitating them and all is also, these are small things which are important. And appreciation of work in front of the peers and in front of the organization also plays a big way. This is more from the retention standpoint, but also if these things are part of the culture, then it also attracts talent and it's known. So if you use your social media to do those reward and recognition uh, events which you are doing, if that is put on social media, definitely it will attract talent also. So once you have attracted the talent and you have got the CVs, now it's the time to screen the resumes and conduct interviews. What are the skills on which you will be evaluating the resume? at the resume level also and at the interview level. What are the skills which you need to be taking care of? One is the technical and grasping skills, which is your core skill, whether it's audit, taxation, accounting. Communication skills, again, it's very, very important. And we see a very, very high rejection ratio on this skill. So this is, as an employer, you need to gauge how are their written communication skills, how are their verbal communication skills. Confidence of the candidate. A lot of time candidates know certain things, but they're not confident about it. So there are certain things which are trainable, like you can teach them, and certain skills which may be difficult to teach. So you need to understand as an employer that what are the skills which can be taught and what are the skills which are mandatory. Longevity. So here you need to see that whether the candidate seems to be a long-term bet, whether his aspirations are fitting into the role. So accordingly, you need to check whether uh, the candidate seems to be a long-term player or he may be a short-term or a mid-term player. It's not necessary that every time you may get a candidate who may stick around, and even if you may think he may or he or she may, but actually he may not. So that's a bet, but you can evaluate him basis that and accordingly also decide on your other parameters in terms of your compensation and other benefits. Attitude. Now again, this is attitude is very, very important. One of the key things which have to be evaluated if you are the one who is taking interviews. So a lot of skills are again teachable, but attitude is very, very important. And if you think that he or she has a willingness to learn, he or she has the willingness to put in extra efforts, because at the initial stage definitely that is needed, and in all the field, like to be uh, more than a median performer, you need to put extra effort. Just a plain uh, regular framework rarely will lead to exceptional results. So you need to check on the attitude of the candidate. What are his computer skills? The computer skills like the regular MS Office, Word, PPT, Excel. You could give some assignments to check those skills. And the salary expectations. Again, if there is a very, very big mismatch in the interview itself, you would be asking the expectations of the candidate. What is your budget? Sometimes it's disclosed, sometimes it's not. So you need to see how much is their expectation and be open to negotiate, because a lot of time the candidate will always be saying a certain number which may be higher on the higher side, and if the firm may not be having that budget or that scale, but you need to talk to them and understand if they are ready to negotiate, rather than rejecting them right away by hearing their expectation. Because a lot of time it is seen that if somebody says that my expectation is uh, 15 lakhs and he's currently at 10 lakhs, because it's a 50%, you may just outright reject him. But you can check with him, is it negotiable? What is the logic of asking that particular amount, rather than rejecting the candidate right away. What you need to see over here is while you're evaluating the candidate and while you are pitching your firm to the candidate also, that where do you stand in the overall scheme of things. There's something called as median. Like median is where majority of the firms, so if I categorize all CA firms, there will be some firms who are above the median, who are paying better, who have better culture, they have other benefits, 5-day working, better pay. And there will be some firms who are in the median, and there are some firms who are below the median. So it's not important, it's not possible that every firm will be above the median or every firm will be paying above the median, because that's an average. What you need to see is that where uh, in what cases you are below the median, in what parameters you are at the median, and at what parameters you are above the median. If you are below the median in all the places as a company, as a firm, then it becomes difficult for you to attract talent. So it's important that you be at median, you are there in all the three buckets, so that you have certain things which are better than others, certain things which are on par with others, and certain things which are uh, lesser than others, and that's how you can make a package and portray to the candidate. Same way, why I gave this example is that even for candidates, so based on where you stand in the median as a firm, you need to see what kind of candidate you will get. If you are not the best pay master, if you are not having the best kind of policies, you expect the best talent to be in your firm, will be the wrong expectation. So you need to see if you can also get somebody who has certain skill sets which are, at least at the median. Some skills will be below the median and some will be on the upper side, and see how you can have the right match. Because the biggest problem is not having the it's not that there aren't resources. The challenge is getting the right resources who is matching your requirement, and on the other side the candidate feels that the firm is matching his or her expectations. So there it is important as a firm that the candidates, we feel that candidates are spoiled for choice today. So as a firm, you need to be reasonable in your expectations and see where do you stand in the median, and then see where can you fit the candidate, where, have a objective analysis rather than a very subjective analysis while you're interviewing a candidate. These are some of the HR, questions which I have put. Most of you might have been asked this when you were a candidate. Just listing it down for your, uh, easy recall. Tell me something about yourself. What is your understanding of the job description? What are your expectations from the role? Why are you looking for a change? Where do you see yourself 3 years, 5 years, 2 years down the line? Are you fine with the work location, which is office location, client place? 5 reasons you want to join the firm. This is an important question to understand the seriousness of the candidate and get a perspective from the candidate. 5 areas in which you can contribute. So this will also, sometimes these questions open up very different kind of strengths of the candidate. In this, possibly the candidate could showcase certain skills which are not normally, discussed during the interview. Other questions could be explain what all you have done in your previous organization, family background, strengths, what makes you angry. So different way to ask about weaknesses. These are different. There are a lot of questions. We can go on and on the question. There is some sample questions. What motivates you? So these questions make the discussion a bit candid, and certain things which otherwise you would not have known about the candidate. Your interest areas. Why should we hire you? Is a standard question. And why do you want to join the company? When it comes to attitude, well, we discussed some of the points. This is again a elaboration as to how can you check the right attitude, whether they're self-motivated, enthusiastic, willingness to learn, work without supervision. Are they someone who takes initiative, willingness to work hard, and clarity of mind? You need to be, once you step into the shoes of an interviewer, you also need to be prepared to answer the questions of the candidate. Some of them may be tricky also. Some of the questions which candidates may ask: what role do you handle in the organization? Right. So there is a possibility that the candidate does not know whom he or she is being interviewed by. So if you all can tell me in the chat box, how many times has it happened that you have given the interview and you do not know who was the interviewer, at least at the time of interview? Has it happened? Just say yes or no, where you have given an interview but you did not know the interviewer. Has it happened with you? Yes, no. Audience, please, let's have an interactive session. Let me know if that has happened with you. Yeah, I can see some yes. Yeah, all are yes. So often happens that you give the interview, but you do not know who was the interviewer. So as a process, it's important that you inform the candidate, but if not, the candidate will can definitely ask you what are the day-to-day uh, responsibility of that role look like. Could you let me know the nature of clients or whose work? So if the firm has not clarified about these things, it's very much likely that the candidate may ask this: what is the hierarchy in the organization? The CTC breakup, a lot of candidates, if it's at the final stages of interview, then he or she could ask that. He could ask about the feedback on the interview right away, next steps in the process, team size. So, there are often times where the HR is not aware of certain facts about the team, which is very important that if the person who is taking the interview is well versed with the organization and various facts about it. Certain tips for having an impactful interview, because this interview is an opportunity for employer or for the firm to showcase their brand. You need to clarify the interview process, right? As a candidate, you would have uh, often been to interviews without knowing what are the number of rounds, what are the next steps, who is the interviewer. So when you connect to a candidate for the first time, it's very important that you tell them the process, that there will be these many rounds. Even if it's not 100% clear, you may say 2 or 3 rounds. Tell them how much will be, whether it will be done on the same day or different days, who will be the interviewer. When the first time you set up the interview, tell them that this partner, this manager, this HR will be conducting it with the name. Again, there is no reason why we should shy away giving these details. Currently, a lot of firms do not give it, not either consciously or out of ignorance, but it's important so that it gives that connect to the candidate also. You should provide feedback at each stage of interview on next steps. So after every step, ideally after even the resume is received, if it's possible practically, you should inform the candidates whether they are shortlisted or not shortlisted. Post that, after every stage of interview, it may be good practice to inform the candidates that they have moved to the next round, or the interview, how much time will it take to announce the results. If they are not shortlisted also, it's completely fine that you inform them that they are not shortlisted. If a feedback is possible, you may give, but it's important that most of the candidates have this complaint against employer community that uh, you don't get feedback, right? So now that you have become an employer, if you have the ability, you should always give feedback, at least if not a detailed feedback, at least the fact that they are shortlisted or not shortlisted, and how much time will each of the processes take. So expected timelines, that the second interview will happen in this week, it will happen after 10 days, after 20 days, whatever be the case, or the offer will be released. Offer decision will take some time because interviews are happening. So it will take about a month also. So give that visibility rather than keeping it as a black hole. Encourage a friendly interview atmosphere so that the candidate can also freely answer the question and does not succumb to pressure, right? They have already given their CA exams and gone through enough pressure. So the interview should not be a pressure cooker or a test for them to how they can handle pressure is not what you are looking at. You should have a friendly atmosphere and also encourage that in your organization so that the best of the candidate can come out and you can find the right candidate. Explore objective ways to evaluate. A lot of times interviews become very subjective. So it's important that you have objective ways. You can have written tests where there are multiple questions which are asked, and then you can evaluate. Even CA exams allow a person to score a 50 marks and become a CA. So why do we have such rigid interviews where just 4 5 questions are asked in an interview, and it is expected that a person who does not know those all of them, or at least 90% of that, does not qualify? It is important to have a higher big number of questions so that there is an objective evaluation. There can still be gaps, but if your data set is only very small, the subjectivity element will come into being. So also important that you inform the candidate in advance that there will be a test so that he's prepared, because without preparation, testing a candidate will anyways not be fair. So you should have such kind of evaluation when it's technical role. You can have case studies, short assignments, etc. Assignments could even be on the drafting skills, be it email drafting, opinion drafting. That will give you a actual strength of the candidate, rather than deciding by 10 to 30 minutes of interview round. Provide opportunity to clarify doubts. Like, give that opportunity to the candidate to ask any questions. A lot of interviews do not give that opportunity only. Be creative in your interview process, also in the whole process when you are contacting the candidate, when the candidate is coming to your office. You may just give them a souvenir, right? We, as a firm, we do have our budgets to do branding, to do some marketing. So why not give a small souvenir to every candidate who comes to your office? Do certain things which help, or take a feedback form and ask them to give something, give a feedback to the firm. So these will be some different, and think of other creative ways in how you can make the interview process itself so good that the candidate has at least that as a that part is definitely a feel good factor for the candidate. Provide the contact details for them to follow up. So it's again a very, very important thing that the candidate who has reached a certain stage, or you have shortlisted, you know that this candidate I've liked, you should give them your contact details so that in case you are unable to reach to them or there is a delay, that candidate can reach out to you and follow up. There's no harm at least giving them your email ID and phone number if the same has not been provided, and give them that go ahead that if you do not hear from us in 5 days, in next 1 week, you please follow up with us. This will also kind of give you a sense that which are the serious candidates. The candidates who are serious and who really are looking forward to work with you will definitely follow up with you. Leave them with a FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, irrespective of whether they join or not. So it's important that your interview process is such where you have created an impact on the candidate, and he or she feels that if he does not select this firm, he's going to miss out on something. He may or may not join after selection, or so it could be any scenario where he's selected or not. If he does not get selected, he feels that, okay, I was lacking something, I missed that opportunity. He should go with that feeling. And if he or she is selected and does not join because he gets something better, he should still feel that, I missed this opportunity, but I had to select something else, so I went for that. So it's up to you to create that FOMO after the candidate leaves your interview process, whether it's a virtual one or a physical. Again, one of the things I did not mention in the interview is virtual and physical. A lot of CA firms are rigid in having only physical interviews post-COVID era also. Here again, it's important for you to understand that if they are working professionals, it gets very difficult for them to come for physical interview, at least for the first round. So that flexibility in the interview process also reflects good on your firm. You have to see again, where do you stand in the median as a firm. If you are above the median in all factors, and then you are rigid in your interview process, it's okay. But if you are below the median, you need to understand that you need to have certain small things which can at least ease the interview process and allow virtual interviews. Also can be for do the interview process faster, so that at least those parameters are better for your firm as against some other organizations. The next step is salary negotiations and offer, which is one of the key areas and a place where a lot of dropouts will be there, especially when it comes to CA firms, because the smaller or mid-sized CA firms that have uh, somewhere the salary expectation of the candidates are not being able to be matched by them. So let's see how we deal with this. what you need to understand before the process starts and even after the process. Understand the budget of the role and exceptions. If somebody is exceptionally good, what is the stretch you can do? Understand that clearly. There should always be scope for negotiation. Understand what the candidate uh, has in his mind. Don't have that take it or leave it attitude, because that will not be a good branding for your firm also. At the end of the day, you may or may not agree to a figure, but at least have that scope for negotiation, where if the candidate is not okay, understand what is his expectation. Sometimes you may expand the role of the candidate based on his or her strengths and accordingly offer a higher salary in terms of say BD, in terms of other verticals where he or she can contribute. So see what are the ways in which you can accommodate the expectation of the candidates and come to a common page. Time is the essence here, guys. So it's very, very, very important that the time gap between your interview stages, one, first, second, third round, you cannot take forever. You might have seen that you have not got, you might have seen that you have never got a call after the first few rounds. You might have also seen where the offer has come so late that you have already joined somewhere or you have lost interest. So, as a candidate, you have experienced all of this. You must have experience. So it's important that between the interviews, there is minimal time which is spent. If there is a delay more than anticipated, inform the candidate, keep him or her informed. That will really help him be engaged and, he or she will appreciate it. And the offer discussion after the final interview again can't take forever. Lot of time the firms, sit on the candidature, they feel it's on hold. Even if they like, they are not able to decide on the offer. So they start the offer discussion, not more than 2 days after your final interviews. If you are going ahead with the candidate, you should not lose out on the candidate just because of the delay. So at least start the process, and after that, the formal offer letter again should go out very fast. Again, there is often a delay where offer rollout after even a specific salary, you have done all the steps, you have come to a final figure, but the rollout is taking, more than a week, and all that again dissuades the candidate. And in that interim, you may see he may get more opportunities. You have to structure the candidate to attract and retain that talent. Again, here also need to be creative, which we discussed in the previous slides also. Innovative styles of fixed variable incentive structure. You can't have the approach of one size fits all. It does not fit all. Based on the level of hire, based on the candidate, see if you can have certain things are fixed and certain things can be innovative so that it attracts them. You need to do competition benchmarking. Here again, lot of firms are lacking this. If you cannot do internally because of bandwidth or because of lack of resources, you can definitely outsource, such kind of services to you can have such kind of services taken from external uh, search firms like ours, or there are if any other firms providing those services, which will help you in understanding where do you stand in that competition. If firms like yours are paying X amount and you are still paying 80%, 70% of X, and then you are still expecting talent to come to your firm, it is something which is very, very difficult. You need to have a formal offer letter, like I discussed in one of the previous slides, with all the terms and conditions, which is again very much missing in practicing CAs. They would just say that you are selected and ask them to join. Neither there is a offer letter or a offer mail. That is something one-time exercise, but it's important to have this in place. Defining a reasonable timeline for acceptance of offer, address all the queries of the candidate in terms of salary. There can be a lot of questions which may be asked in terms of breakup, salary, date of payout, all of that you should be happily answering. Some of them may look a little immature questions also at times, but you need to, if you have liked the candidate and reached that stage, you should not shy away in answering those questions. Consider the offer to acceptance ratio and then accordingly plan that how many people you have to offer. which we had discussed in that pyramid. Next step is the onboarding. The last step in hiring is onboarding. Here, you would be surprised to know that the offer to joining ratio is like 50 to 70%. So if 10 candidates are selected, only 5 may end up joining. Some may drop at the acceptance level only, and some may join on the day of joining. Some may, sorry, back out on the day of joining. So to reduce the chances of dropout, it's very important that after, especially if the candidate is accepted, you create an engagement plan that every week a certain mail is sent to them. So, they also feel that the firm is continuously, continuously be in touch with them, have certain things about the firm. That is something you have to discuss with the firm and see some plan that during those 1-2 months of notice period where the candidate is waiting, you need to have a plan. Have a FaceTime of juniors with seniors. So after the candidate joins, it's often seen that uh, at junior level, they do not get any FaceTime with the seniors. And if they have not done any interview, also they don't get to interact with them for months and months. So it's important that there is some ways in which there is uh, interaction between the junior most person and the senior most person in a formal or an informal setup after the onboarding, and create a settling plan, because it's very important that these first 1 week, first day, first week, first month are important from a long-term standpoint. Sometimes the memories which they create in the first few days also lead to the attrition after a year. They would have a grudge, or they would have a bad memory of certain things which happened during their first week, and that would add to their attrition complaints. That would add to their complaints leading to attrition. So you need to communicate, and communication is the key. Communication and informing them the day one schedule. So once they are selected, what is their first day schedule should be communicated in advance. And in the morning, the person is reaching the office. If it's virtual joining, it's clueless ki aaj karna kya hai. There's a lot of anxiety for the candidate. So it's important that there is a welcome email which is sent to them uh, 1 day prior, like a pre-welcome or a day one schedule, that we are waiting, we look forward to your joining tomorrow, which has details. It may be sent a few days before or at least 1 day before. What is your plan when you reach? What is your joining time? Candidates are clueless what time they have to join, whom they have to meet. So if you inform them on mail what is their expected time for arrival, whom should they meet, what are the things which will happen, if there is any induction planned, any training planned, so you let them know that this is the schedule going to be from this time to this time, this will happen. So that gives a lot of clarity, and they look forward to joining on the first day. You may have system like a buddy allocation, where you have a buddy who can introduce him or her to different people. You can have a meet and greet where during the lunchtime everybody is introducing each other. You can have things like a welcome kit, infrastructure like laptop, uh, or any data card should be given on the same day. It's very common to see that people are not allocated resources for uh, 5 to 10 days, and that also creates unnecessary anxiety and not a very feel good factor for the candidates. Have a proper induction plan, make a person belong, make the person feel belonged in the organization from the day he or she has joined. Have a welcome email sent to the entire organization. Also, one is like something where you send it to the organization, to the candidate, and one is where you introduce that candidate. This is again a practice not very common in CA firms. So even at Vahura, we have a practice where anybody joins, a very good email is sent to the entire organization introducing that person, and then everybody in the organization welcomes him or her. So half a day goes in just reading those mails. So that's a good way to do, and you could think of other ways of how you can help the person feel belonged from day one. You can have these check-in surveys at regular intervals, after 1 week, after 10 days, after 15 days, after a month. So till the time you feel there's a settling time, you can have some surveys where you can check whether the candidate is settling well. Next is, after we have done the entire hiring process, he is onboarded, Next we come is screening. Now the candidate is in the system. Now he has become your employee. So you need to take care of the training of the candidate internally so that he is a valuable resource for your organization. You need to have an induction on what are the different processes in the firm, whether it's for client processes, internal processes, timelines. Internal training sessions can be one of the ways for the technical topics, external webinars, study circle sessions, residential courses, certificate courses, library access, or recommendations which can be given by the firm, by the seniors that you should read this whenever you have time. Journal should be encouraged to be read. Knowledge database, competitions can be arranged, quizzes, on recording of the material sessions. So these are different ways in which, as a group, these are not something which the firm would be doing for an individual. A lot of them would be at a group level. So these are the ways different. There's like as a CA community, we have enough of material available in externally also. So it's important for you to keep a track on all these, keep a tab on all these things, and then reach out to reach out, inform the candidates, reach out to them and encourage them to do certain things. It can be mandatory, it can be optional. You can have certain points added so that they, people who do these courses get certain points. That points can be redeemed for certain leaves, for certain half. You can be very innovative in lot of these things. In soft skills, you should give them uh, opportunities to give presentations internally once a month, once in 3 months. Every person should be given an opportunity to present internally. This will definitely help them in improvising on their communication skills, presentation skills. If they are good, they should be encouraged to take up external presentations, because a lot of this is dependent on the support of the firm. If the firm is supportive, there is a good likelihood that the person will take up these things. Mock client calls for a person, rather than giving rather than pushing a new person, or even if a person has experience, rather than having them do it directly in front of a client and make some mistakes, it's always good to have some mock client calls, meetings before hand, so that they are equipped with how the firm works. Email drafting session, accounting software. So these are like, when I say soft skill, these are like not the core subject, but other than the core subject. These trainings can be done on the accounting softwares, audit softwares and tax softwares, team management, leadership sessions. So these are some of the things which you can do it internally, have some trainers, or if you have internally people who can take it up, or it can be done at external places. So it's important for doing these both technical skills and soft skills training for the candidate. Next is retention. So now retention is kind of a mix of all of these things which we have discussed so far, which will help in retaining the candidates. We have had some surveys which we have done in the past at Vahura, which uh, which kind of identify what are the reasons which lead to attrition. Most of the points are something which are known to the organizations, but they do not consciously take steps to uh, remedy those things, or they shy away in addressing those problems. Some of the things are, of course, unsustainable working hours is one of the key areas where attrition is seen. So I work for more than 10 hours daily. Some of the complaint areas I'm listing down. The partners tend to play favorite. If that is a feeling that there is some favoritism in the firm, then that can also lead to attrition. The firm doesn't encourage people to balance work and personal life, which is also something to do with the late sittings and long working hours. The seniors and peers are not very supportive. There is an atmosphere of conflict, competition. So that again can lead to people leaving. The firm is not emotionally and mentally healthy place, no say in decisions. So again, decisions, if the team is involved in the decision making, especially at mid to senior level. That also gives a lot of sense of involvement, sense of belonging to the people. These are smaller things, softer things, which can help in retaining candidates for a much longer duration. Work is monotonous. So this, how would you as a employer know that the candidate is feeling that the work is monotonous? Possibly by doing these surveys on an annual basis, 6 monthly basis, rather than these, rather than reacting to it, let's do it proactively at regular intervals and understand what are the feelings on an anonymous basis. You can have surveys, or if you can see certain symptoms, you can talk to the people or have some 101 sessions with the HR as to how they are enjoying the work. And if you feel there is some monotony, rather than losing the candidate, you can shift them to some another department, see if they can contribute to some other areas which help them reduce their monotony. There is unending stress and pressure in the job, which is again the common complaint for people working on the consulting side. And that's the reason a lot of people from CA firms want to shift to industry. That is the precise reason which this stress, pressure, long working hours are very, very common reasons for people to shift to industry. The intangible factors, some of them we have already discussed, which leads to attracting as well as retaining the candidates. We'll delve into some of the key ones, which are the main buckets, and within that, the different factors we have discussed a lot of them in the past. What is the culture of the firm, which encompasses the character and personality of a firm? What makes the firm unique, its values, traditions, beliefs, behaviors, and attitudes. That is important for a candidate to be sticking to a particular organization. What is the satisfaction? That job satisfaction nahi mil raha hai, and that's the reason they leave. So what is that? Do they feel a feeling of achievement when they believe, when they work in an organization? Are they feeling that they're doing something worthwhile? Are they feeling self-motivated and satisfied with their role? That's very important. Firm leadership is looked upon. The is something which is also seen by the people who is leading the firm. Sometimes, even if certain things are not right, but if the firm leadership is something they look up to, they have respect for, then you can see people getting retained for a longer duration. How approachable is the firm leadership? How clear they are? That also uh, decides the retention of the candidates. Rewards and recognition we discussed. Prestige is all prestige and employer branding, right? These are things which are related. So, what is the social pride of the person feel that I'm working with X firm? Does he feel that pride? So for that feeling of pride, there has to be some branding which the firm needs to do, which helps in him or her telling that with pride that I work with X firm because that firm is known to the market. If the firm is not known, the chances are that on the prestige parameter, it may be difficult for them. Or even if the firm is not known, they can, tell it with pride that my firm does X kind of work and feel that sense of pride. Work-life balance, we've already discussed a lot, right? So now overview of job portals. What's the time? So if we have the time, we can look at the portal. But before we switch to the job portal, I would like the audience to let me know if they have any questions, and it would be great that we have an interactive session. If you all can, raise your hand and we can allow you to share your experiences as a candidate. I'm sure, we can learn from each other. So if any of you would like to share their experience, not so good experience, or a good experience also in a firm, which really helped them in joining that organization or not joining that organization, that is something we will definitely like to know. So over to the audience, if they have any questions or they have any experiences to share. You can put in the Q&A or chat, whatever, or raise a hand. We have Gunjan, Hina, Neelam. Anyone would, it will be great to hear some experiences from you all. From ICI team, I just wanted to understand, is the chat window open to all? Can the people put anything in chat, or is it restricted chat? I am unable to see the attendees raise of hand. I can see one question. Any guidance about desired time period for probation? So typically the probation period is anywhere between 2 to 3 months to even 6 months. Ideally, 3 months should be enough, but a lot of firms have this as 6 months. I would, yeah, definitely from my end, if you ask, I think 2 to 3 months is enough for you to understand uh, the potential of the candidate and the fitment of the candidate. Probation is basically to uh, decide whether to continue with the candidate or not, and certain, while he's on probation, the notice period gets reduced, and for both the ends, and certain rights and responsibilities are different during the probation period. So 2 to 3 months is good, Uday, from my end. 6 months seems very high, and again, that is not a very good, it's not an employee friendly policy is what I would say, anything beyond 3 months. So I'll just stop sharing this screen, and I will move to a portal and just show you a bit of the overview of how the portal looks like. Just give me a minute or 2 minutes.
हेलो नमिता मैडम। हेलो नमिता मैम।
Yeah. Hello.
मैम हो गया आपका रिक्शा?
No, I'm just showing some things are left.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take another 10 minutes. Yeah. So now I'm just showing you how a job portal works. Very similar. Most of the portals will have some things which are different, just like a shopping website, more or less. A lot of things will be common, but it will just make you understand how it looks from a candidate standpoint. So this is the portal which currently I'm working on. This is Vahura's portal. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So here I'm just logging in right now. So you will have a login and a password in any job portal. Once you create your account, once you log in, you will have a dashboard. You will have a dashboard where you can uh, post job openings of your organization, view the applicants, search from the database overall. So those are your active and passive candidates both. And then whatever other features which are there, but typically you will get access to posting a opening and getting the applications. That is one way to source candidates when we said sourcing through recruitment portals, and second is searching from the database. So when you click on post the opening, as you can see, this is a window will open, which will be a form which will have to be filled by you. What is the job title? What is the category of the opening? Whether you're looking to hire a CA, CS. So this, because this portal is only specific to a particular community. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. So here you have to fill a form basically listing down the requirements of your opening, the number of openings, experience, salary, which location, what are the skills which you are looking at, technical skills, the description of the firm. So the form will vary from portal to portal, but more or less some of the fields will be standard, where you put the JD, candidate requirements. Here we also have a walk-in interview section, where if you don't want to shortlist their resumes and directly call them for an interview, that can be done. This is your poster opening. Then if you want to see the job postings which are already active, just resharing. So here you can see how many people have been offered, how many have been shortlisted, how many are under review. So this gives you an overview of the overall pipeline which you have. Taking some time. This is the application list. Different portals will have a different UI UX. Here we have a tabular format in which you can see the applications, the name of the candidate, their details. So this is if you are an employer and if you are using a job portal, you'll be able to see the details of the candidate. You can download the resume from the last icon. You can put in your comments. You can change the status of the candidate. If there are a lot of candidates, then you can filter the candidate based on their profile, based on their skills, based on their experience, right? Because if in my example, when I said that you may get 40 applications and you may end up selecting or shortlisting only 20 or 15 of them. That can be done by way of using some filters or also by manually looking at the resumes. But in case you want to eliminate by certain basic criteria like experience, location, you're not looking at outstation candidates, years of experience, right? You will have these kind of filters are available in most of the organizations, most of the portals. Some of them are very unique to the current platform. In advanced search, which industries they belong to, have they worked in CACS or law firms, what are their sub skills. So these are the ways in which if you select certain filters, you will be able to then put a search and get only the relevant people who are qualifying. So one is filtering the applications and the other is filtering the overall database. So the portals which give you access to the overall database, where even if people have not applied for your job, they are just registered on that job portal. By using these filters, like you may have to type the keyword like GST, chartered accountant, fill up the different filters like experience, education, all of that, and then search. And then you will get the results, and then you have to go through those results, look at the CVs and call them up and schedule the interview, or you can mail them depending on, what are the features available in their portal. So this is it about, how gave you a little bit broad overview of the portals also. If there are no questions, we can conclude. From my end, the concluding remark will be that if you are helping organizations to hire, then as an employer, now you need to step into the shoes of a candidate also and see how you can make your entire process candidate friendly, how you can attract the talent, how what are the USPs of your firm. And once you are well aware of that, how you can communicate to the candidates and then try to hire, if may not necessarily be always the best talent, but the right talent which is possible for your organization can be selected by you and onboarded by you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining in. ICI team, we are done with the session.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So, hi, Namita. I would like to, present the vote of thanks for today. So I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all of the people who are, part of this session today, and on this informative session on recruitment, hire, train, and nourish staff conducted by none other than CA Namita Agarwal. Her insights and expertise have certainly enriched our understanding of this critical aspect of organizational success. Thank you, Namita Agarwal, for this wonderful session. The tips that you shared throughout the session on how you can hire the right talent, what are the monetary and non-monetary benefits that you can give to your staff, the tips for impactful interview, those are really helpful for us being an employer right now, from the other side of the table, that is from the employee side of the table to the employer side of the table. Thank you for this wonderful session.
Thanks, Pradnya. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.